Hi, this is Nikhil and you're watching the weekly review on commodities with Groww. So इस weekly review में हम बात करेंगे कि क्या all events हुए across the world and how they impacted prices on commodities. We'll then go forward to the charts and look कि क्या price ranges पे gold, silver and crude trade कर रहे हैं और कुछ important levels to mark in there. हम फिर IVs भी check करेंगे इन assets की to decide कि कितने price का move expect कर रही है street. So finally लग रहा है कि US and Iran का war is coming. Both sides failed at negotiations that they were heading into. ट्रम्प काफ़ी स्ट्रिंजेंट है ऑफ व्हाट ही वांट्स आउट ऑफ ईरान एंड लग नहीं रहा कि ईरानियन गवर्नमेंट इज वेरी सपोर्टिव ऑफ हिज रिक्वायरमेंट्स एंड देन लेटर न्यूज केम इन कि कुछ चाइनीज कार्गो शिप्स लैंडेड इन ईरान ईरान और चाइना काफ़ी टाइम से कुछ हाइपरसोनिक मिसाइल्स के लिए डील कर रहे थे सो द स्ट्रीट इज नाउ एंशियस अबाउट द कंटेंट्स ऑफ द कार्गो शिप दैट लैंडेड चाइना देन केम आउट एंड सपोर्टेड ईरान सेइंग दैट कॉन्फ्लिक्ट शुड बी टैकल्ड पॉलिटिकली एंड नॉट बाय मिलिट्री एक्सरसाइजेस चाइना का काफ़ी सारा क्रूड रिक्वायरमेंट्स ईरान से फुलफिल होता है सो इट्स ऑब्वियस दैट चाइना वुड नॉट वांट दिस कॉन्फ्लिक्ट टू इलोंगेट इफ दिस वॉर ग्रोज थ्रू द सप्लाई ऑफ crude in the world could actually come down as Iran is one of the largest supplier of crude. Friday को ट्रम्प से पूछा गया था कि क्या इम्पैक्ट हो सकता है क्रूड पे of all this, to which he replied कि he is not concerned much about the prices of crude right now. So इन कॉन्फ्लिक्ट्स के कारण सारे सेंट्रल बैंक्स एंड मोस्ट इंस्टीट्यूशनल्स आर लुकिंग फॉरवर्ड टू गोल्ड एंड सिल्वर एज सेफ हेवन इफ समथिंग गोज रॉन्ग सो हर वीक कुछ ना कुछ होए जा रहा है विच इज पुशिंग पीपल टू मूव मोर टू दिस सेफ हेवन एसेट्स इसका इम्पैक्ट वी सॉ ऑन IT कंपनीज इन इंडिया एंड अ लॉट ऑफ सर्विस कंपनीज अराउंड द वर्ल्ड. So a lot of money actually started coming out of these places. Citrin Research, an independent research company, then came out with a probable but slightly extreme AI scenario where it predicted AI agents taking over a lot of commerce and service industries in coming few years. The impact of which it concluded would lead to a lot of trade imbalances between countries and could lead to devaluations of currencies across the world. So that also strengthened the outlook of gold and silver as a future hedge against currency depreciation that we could see. A lot of talk on what is happening around the world, but that is the time we live in. Every week कुछ ना कुछ नया आता है which impacts prices and then before we could actually analyze the impact of those events on the prices of these assets and new news comes in and prices को फिर उनको भी reflect करना पड़ता है. So let's now head straight to silver and look at the charts and price levels that we are talking about. सिल्वर पे हमने देखा था कि वी हैव बीन ट्रेडिंग बिटवीन दिस रेंज ऑफ 270 and 225 फ्रॉम लॉन्ग टाइम कपल ऑफ मंथ्स. We finally broke out of this up range. Ignore this gap. ये gap actually price move के कारण नहीं होता है but change in expiries. We moved from February expiry to March expiry, so prices jump होते हैं comparatively as March expiry is slightly more expensive than the February expiry. Usually we do adjustments on the chart using Panama adjustment, something that is called Panama adjustments. I will probably make another video on what that is. So this price is actually just because the February expiry expired somewhere around 260 264 and then the March expiry at that moment was trading around 273. So this is a continuous price, but the jump that you see over here is mostly because this is not a properly adjusted chart on TradingView. Irrespective, price has moved above our range and now we are slightly in bullish category. We are now going to look at this price level of 290 as a major resistance or price levels to look at where some action could come in. So हम पिछले कुछ हफ्तों से बात कर रहे हैं around a trade above these levels that has now been initiated. अब हमें देखना होगा कि how strong is this momentum and can it take us to the highs of 420 in the coming weeks or coming months. न्यूज़ इतने सारे फ्लोट हो रहे हैं कि कुछ भी हो सकता है. प्राइसेस रियल टाइम पे रिस्पॉन्ड करती हैं उनको. So मैं सरप्राइज नहीं होऊंगा if in the coming weeks we head higher and actually head towards the all-time high. So our current plan is to actually carry on this momentum on the upside till it lasts. If we come back between these price levels that we talked about of 270 and 225, then we will have a relook on this bullish bias की क्या कर सकते हैं आगे. Considering that Chinese New Year is over and we can see prices actually go up because of China buying a lot of gold and silver, we actually saw them buy 65% more gold and silver. Let's look at silver IVs now. Silver is currently trading at 75 ka IV, slightly lesser than what we saw in our midweek review. So abhi silver is pricing somewhere around 5 to 6% move a day. So if you are trading options, keep that in mind that it can move anytime 5 to 6% and even 10% a day. Also keep in mind the circuits on MCX to trade around them. A simple rule of thumb on converting IVs into expected daily move is to just divide that number by 16. So if it divides 75 by 16, it comes out somewhere around 5%. So that is how much the market is expecting it to move every day. Let's head to gold now. Gold, we have been seeing, has been trading around this range of 160 and 150 that we talked about in the previous reviews. My technical analyst friends and price action people would see this upside rising wedge जो form हो रहा है. Inherently it just means कि price ऊपर की तरफ consolidate हो रहा है, making lower lows every time it heads up to that 160 का price. So we can expect this momentum to actually continue and see prices go higher from here, or we could see a rejection from here right now. So यहाँ पे एक trade setup बन रहा है जो people को trade on depending on how they see prices moving forward here. So keep an eye on the coming few days for the confirmation of a trade that can come. Fun fact, if we look at the monthly chart of gold, we saw a parabola that is forming. We just saw a 7 straight green month on gold right now. This is what a super cycle on commodities look like. Let's move to crude now. Crude, we saw trading around 5,600 levels last week when its expiry was there. From there it has moved around to 6,100 ka prices. There's a lot of anxiety around crude, and that is why we see prices बहुत jumpy है. Depending on how this conflict involves, prices of crude could actually drastically move up or down. We also have OPEC meeting on Sunday, on which they usually decide the supplies for the coming few weeks. So expect large volatility on crude next week. If the conflict intensifies, prices of crude could shoot up drastically from here. 20% of the world ka whole crude actually moves from that Strait of Hormuz that we have been talking about. A bottleneck over there could actually cripple the supply of crude all over the world. If we go look at crude ka IVs, crude is currently trading at 65, which also means that it is trading somewhere around 5% per day move. You see a drastic uprise on the IVs as it moves higher on the option chain. Somewhere around 6800 ka strike is trading around 78 ka IV. So what this means is कि street is expecting the prices to be very jumpy on the upside compared to the downside. So if we see an up move, we can actually see a drastic up move rather than a small rally. We are living in a world जहाँ पे इतने सारे data points move कर रहे हैं एक साथ में that we cannot look at all of those in one small video. But I'm hoping that all these weekly reviews that I'm giving you is actually summarizing all the events for you to make better trade decisions. वॉल्टिलिटी काफ़ी ज़्यादा है, प्राइसेस काफ़ी स्पाइकी है. कोशिश करें स्मॉलर साइजेस पे ट्रेड करें. डू नॉट टेक मोर रिस्क देन व्हाट यू कैन डाइजेस्ट. मैनेज योर रिस्क वेल. आई एम निखिल. आई विल सी यू ऑन द नेक्स्ट वीक रिव्यू. गुड बाय.